All right, guys, we're back for week 17, round 17's review for Supercoach 2024. Good week, I'd say. There was two big errors I made. Saturday, it was probably the worst Saturday of this year for me. The most carnage in one day during the season. Went up in rank, so can't be mad. Like I said, this is by far my best year. But I was also like having a bit of like an introspect on the year yesterday. I think this has been the easiest year of Supercoach. For a couple of reasons. I'll probably go into it like once the off season comes around, but like I think this year was actually pretty easy to get like a good rank if you know what you're doing. 389. Considering I think my previous best was like 3k. Last year, which I think last year was way harder than this year was. Yeah, I'll take it. Still pushing for top 100. We'll see if it's possible. I think I needed a 2500 this week to stay in the running. But yeah, we'll go on. So, number one mistake for the team was just a shit captain and vice captain thing. Just messed it up completely. And then the two guys that I was like looking at doing did end up going off. It was like Merritt into who Dunkley was supposed to be before I reversed it. But yeah, so Sheasel was good. The North versus Gold Coast game was a bit weird. It was like, why are North good in this game? I think it's more so Gold Coast are just terrible away from home. It was good to see a bit of emotion from Dimmer in the post game because like Gold Coast are not at that level anymore. They really should be competing in these games and they're just not. It's really embarrassing from them. Let me just swap that around. I did get Rosie's score, by the way, so like this is how I did it. I ended up having to not take Walsh's score for it, but yeah. I was more so disappointed from Gold Coast rather than surprised from North in that game. But Sheasel was good. I think Simkin was also pretty good. Powell was good. But yeah, I don't know what's going on the Gold Coast. Dacos 92 did expect a low score, but the thought here was he's either going to give me 130 or he's going to give me like 90, right? He's a big game player. It was a big game. I think Collingwood season is now in like a lot of jeopardy now. There's a better than like 40% chance. So say it's around about 45-50% chance they don't make the 8. They've got a pretty hard run home. Really, there's only like one easy win in there. It's Richmond. But yeah, I think Collingwood needed to win that and they couldn't hold on. But yeah, I did want to vice captain Merritt, but my thought with Merritt was he could give me like a weird like 120. It's like, what do I do with that? But I did see a big game coming from him. I just didn't want to get the low big game, and then it's hard to like decide. Ryan, I don't know. Okay, so this was a disaster class in how to coach poorly but win a game. I thought Freo did everything wrong. They were just saying that Richmond aren't a good team. Against any reasonably good team, I think Freo lose this by like 50 points. Like we can just look at who was high scoring. It was Hayden Young, was it? Tracy had like 3 goals at quarter time. So like they were saved from like not amazing players overperforming. Like Richmond have the weakest midfield in the competition easily. Like there is the only competition is like West Coast, and I still think West Coast midfield is better because of guys like Yo. And then like what is this? Like they're playing O'Meara in the midfield over Sarong, and I heard on the commentary like they said it about 2 times trying to defend JL and stuff like that. It was like, oh, he's getting tagged, so they've moved him up forward. Tagged against Richmond from who, right? Like, so stupid. This was the game that they decided, oh, we're not going to play through like Ryan and Clark. We're going to like really make them work for it. It's like, what are you doing? Like, it was a disaster class in how to like win games with terrible coaching. Terrible coaching. The game plan was so bad. Hopefully they fix it up because Sarong forward pocket should never happen. If he's tagged, leave him in the midfield. I guarantee he's given you more than what is he, like 30 something Jager O'Meara? Like, how old is O'Meara? Jager O'Meara. Like, why is it, yeah, he's exactly 30. Like, what are you doing? What I can't. Houston just couldn't get near it. Port were very good, I thought, in this game. Completely different to Freo. I thought they were actually coached pretty good. Pretty disappointed from the Dogs, considering they're meant to be ramping up for final season, and it's not there. Yeah, I mean, when you're up 80 points, it's hard for a defending halfback to get the ball, right? And Dogs weren't really kicking that many behinds either. So yeah, it just wasn't a game for Houston. It was a game for the midfielders, some of the forwards. Yeah, I mean, it just wasn't a game for defenders. Naz, on the other hand, I think was underscored. I think he played a pretty big role for St Kilda. Who top scored from this game? It had to have been a defender, right? Yeah, Wilkie. I mean, yeah, Wilkie was good. Philippou had a couple. Sinclair was like a guy that was targeting in trades. With one trade remaining, I couldn't do it. Like, if I copped a 110 versus like, yeah, the guy I was meant to bring in went 180, I'd just be like dead in the water. But yeah, I thought Naz played a pretty big role. I thought this could have been 120, but is what it is. Take it 110. Nick Martin, although like this isn't too big of a score from him, I think this is like one of the best games I've seen him play. His decision making wasn't all over the place, which has kind of been a knock on him. He kind of knew what he was doing, and he was playing winning football. It wasn't just like getting touches for the stat sheet. It was like when he's getting it and how he's giving it off isn't for his gain. It's actually like for the team, which I thought this was probably his best game I've seen him play. Like, considering the stage and everything, right? I don't think Essendon have really even had that many big stage games where a guy can show up like that. Schoenmaker played. That's probably all you can expect. Hopefully I never have to field him, but we've seen like a couple of weird like rested players. I wouldn't be surprised there's another one coming, but it's really like, what is there, 5 rounds left, 6 rounds. I really hope there's not another player getting rested. The midfield was like all over the place. Bont was in like captaincy discussions for me, and it was just lucky I didn't go there. Dunkley was supposed to be Neil, and I traded out of it because I thought, Neil could get tagged a couple of times over the next few games. So, like, I thought, okay, West Coast, Dunkley scores good against them. West Coast don't tag per se, but like they'll put attention on a midfielder. And I think they'd go towards Neil just because he's multiple time Brownlow winner. Sydney, James Jordan, I think, is someone that will go to Neil instead of Dunkley, because Neil's more inside. You could say James Jordan's more outside, so it would lean towards Dunkley, but I think, again, Neil's just the better player out of the two of them, so you'd probably want to tag him instead. And I think Dunkley's a lot harder to tag, because he'll just move forward. He has got that in him. He can kick a couple of goals. Gold Coast don't really have a tagger, but it is what it is. St Kilda, this was one of them I was looking at. It was like, if they bring Windhager in, he's going to tag Neil. He's done it in the past, I'm pretty sure. And then there was a Melbourne game, I think, in there, which Dunkley's like scored 200 against. So I was like, I'll go with him. When you look at it, so that's 40 points I've lost there. Meant to keep Rao, so that's another about 40 points there. Like, what Rao have? Like, I want to say 80. What did he score? 79. Yeah, so what's that? Let's call it another 40 points. Yeah, I mean, that's 80 points there. Chuck 80 points on the total score, puts 2,500, looking a lot better. That's probably the biggest mistake of this week, apart from captain. I think everyone kind of got the captaincy wrong. Gorn and Sarong were like the two most popular ones, so yeah, I think a lot of people got that off. Butters spoke about it. I mean, Goulden, we'll go to Goulden. I thought he'd be a lot better against St Kilda, honestly. I don't know. I thought he'd be a lot better. I don't think Goulden is really like a super taggable player because of the mix of inside, outside, forward. He can even like play defensive. Not necessarily in a defensive position, but he's just a good defensive player. He's got good instinct. But yeah, just didn't really rack it up as as much as I thought he would. What did he have? Man, this website. Okay. I mean, 28. Didn't have a goal though. That's probably what's holding him back. Yeah. 28, 3 tackles, a bit lower than what he's been having in his big games. So, yeah. But Butters, though, I think Butters was really good. Did throw a bit of a tantrum at the end, which I thought did rightfully get him subbed out. But, I mean, they were up, right? So I'm actually a fan of teams going for the approach of, like, we're up 80 in the fourth quarter. We're not losing this game. You can play it like 50% and you're still probably going to steamroll the other team. Sub one of your star players, get him, a bit more rest. It just stops any potential injury, right? Like, there's been times in the past, fourth quarter, team's up huge, guy just goes for a run after the ball, pulls his hammy, right? Now that's a couple of weeks out. I'm actually fine with the subbing of him for both reasons, like both to just rest the star player, and he was throwing a tantrum over nothing. Like, he started the contact, copped a pushback, pushed him back another time, and then he's like complaining about it. It's like, all right, cool down, right? There's 15 minutes left in the game, or 10 minutes left. Cool down on the bench. I do like how Hinkley has been handling players this year, apart from like debutants. I think the whole league has really been shit with debutants this year. Merritt, like I said, was just everywhere. Probably the best captain this year. Like actual football, like best captain. I'm trying to think like who else. I mean, Collingwood, not this year. Geelong, not this year. Who's Sydney's captain this year? Rampy? I can't think of it off the top of my head. Yeah, you know what? I'll probably give it to him. Yeah, I mean, Carlton maybe, but like, I'd say Merritt's probably been the best captain this year. It's I guess it typically goes to like a Selwood or a Pendlebury or something like that, but I think Merritt's been the best captain this year. Sarong, I'm not even going to go into it because like I've already done it, and it just makes no sense. It makes zero sense. Why would Richmond's tagging him? Richmond, that are now on the bottom of the ladder, right? Like, that have never tagged, and one of their, like, even when they were in their premiership dynasty, right? Like, the knock on them was their midfield cannot defend. It's insane. Like, what rubbish, right? They just moved him half forward for Jager O'Meara to play in the midfield against Richmond. Like, stupid. Oh, let me see the CBAs on this. This is just absurd. This is probably one of the biggest, like, crazy moments of the year. Like, what is this? Sarong. That's rubbish. He wasn't at 77. I don't even think this lines up if you did the math on it. because O'Meara was at least like 5 because I turned the game on and I saw him around the stoppage. So yeah, I mean it must be like he started a stoppage and then ran forward. Like yeah, I mean this just isn't correct. Um, yeah, stupid stuff. Took injured, not really going to go into it. He looked good before the injury. Up until about half time, he was on like 45, something around that. He didn't look too bad. He just got hurt in the third. Didn't it was too early in the third that the scaling just pushed him all the way back. Rallinson gave me Rosie score. Did have to sacrifice Walsh, but it's really only 30 points difference. So we'll take that. Rosie was insane. I thought this was going to be a 200, and I was like, oh man, I have to do something, because originally Rowlinson was the Geelong guy who, what did he score? What's his Humphreys? 66. I mean, not terrible for a rookie, but I need a loop on the bench. Doing all year without a loop is kind of rough. Then I don't actually have to trade Took, by the way. Like, I was thinking about trades earlier. I don't have to make a trade this week unless Fisher misses. If he does, then I just find someone. But that's going to be hard because I think Rankin is out a couple of weeks. But yeah, so Dowling I thought was good. They finally kind of gave him some midfield time. What did he have for CBAs? He was around the stoppage. I don't know if he was at them often. Yeah, 16. He was at a few of them. They're finally realizing, oh, he's an inside mid. Maybe we play him as an inside mid and not like a half forward flank or full forward or something like that. It's stupid. Yeah, what else have we got? So the rucks, neither of them were good. I think unless he had English, he kind of just had a poor week for rucks. What did Sherry have? Because he's been having low-key good games. 119, Jesus. Yeah. Grundy didn't have a good week, did he? It was looking a lot worse. 94, it was looking a lot worse when I checked. It was like 3/4 time or something. Yeah, it wasn't looking good. I thought, oh man, he's going to drop huge. I mean, 31k is a big drop. And he's got a 170 break even. Nah, wouldn't do it. If you got more than one trade, maybe, but with one trade in the bank, not going to bother with it. Flanders was good, probably the best of the Gold Coast mids, at least. Anderson didn't really show up. Rao, he's a contested guy, but he was just, wasn't working today or yesterday. Heaney was good. I don't think he actually deserved a 120. Honestly, I think the goal, he had 2 goals. I think that kind of carried him a bit, from the timing and stuff of him. Yeah, 2 goals, 24 touches. I mean, he had a couple of tackles and stuff, and a couple of free kicks. Yeah, maybe stats wise worth a 127, but watching the game, I didn't see it really. Thought this really wasn't too great a game from him. Zorko, I think Starcevic going down kind of caused Zorko to play a bit more off-ball defense type of role. You have to move around a bit differently, because this game was kind of close. Adelaide brought it back a couple of times. It was an actual fun game to watch, because Adelaide never really looked out of it, even when the lead was huge. Just off game from him. I think Starcevic should come back next week. I don't know what the thing was. I think it was a failed HIA, which probably means he misses this week. Who did Brisbane play? West Coast. They'll probably just sit him anyway. Even if he's fine, to sit him. Caldwell, I think this was his breakout game against Collingwood, reigning premiers. I thought he was huge. He was really that dynamic duo they've been looking for with Merritt. They'd be silly to change anything about Caldwell as well. Caldwell's role going forward is inside mid that will work off Merritt. he goes in, gets it out to Merritt, or the ball spills out to Merritt, and then Merritt passes back to him. Yeah, I think they'd be stupid to change anything about this. He looked like the perfect running mate for Merritt, and someone that like just gets it, right? He's young, he's everything that they want. And I said at the start of the year, it's about time one of these like Essendon guys that they've drafted and are kind of young break through. They didn't draft him. I think it was GWS that drafted Caldwell. So I remember a couple of years ago there was a bit of Supercoach relevance, wasn't there? Yeah. Anyway, Simkin, like I said, was good, and then Kruger covered for Fisher, who I think is back this week. Gonna have to wait for injury reports and stuff, but Kruger I thought was pretty good, honestly. Like, kicked a couple of goals. I think his spot is 100% secured with what's his name? Myercheck going out with injury and he's done for the year. I think Kruger has to play now because they need just height in the forward line and some type of goal kicking ability. I think Kruger's kicking motion has the ball kind of too low. But, I mean, it got across defenders, so maybe it's just high enough. But, yeah. So, if I did have to make a trade this week, I'd probably do Fisher. Like, depending on injury stuff, right? So, be Fisher. Rankin, gonna wait for MRO stuff to see how many weeks he misses. Jackson, I don't think is the worst. Probably Dylan Moore. Just, like, best of what's left. I think Combin's not bad, honestly. Yeah, I mean, do I hop back on Tom Powell? I go rail out for Powell. 3 round, what are we looking at? Combin, yeah, I mean, Combin's been good. Makes me think, like, why haven't they been playing him as a defender this whole time? Site's so rubbish, it, like, freezes. Alright. Melbourne, Dog, Gold Coast, it's not, like, the easiest teams that he's scoring good against. 78 versus Collingwood's a bit weak. 450k though, that's pretty big. Sydney, that's not a good matchup. Oh, I mean, actually, it might not be bad because Sydney's forward line is kind of short. Carlton's not bad. Carlton have looked kind of gettable the last couple of weeks. Geelong, I don't mind. Richmond, West Coast is not too bad. Yeah, I mean, if Fisher's healthy, I'll probably keep him. And I'll go Took out. Do I? I think Took's like the perfect M9, honestly. And if Rosie's like proper back, maybe I go like Walsh out. What would Walsh out get me? I think Walsh out would get me Neil. Yeah, it would. Oh, man, almost a 153 round and I didn't trade him in. Oh, man. I'm so annoyed. Say I did that. What's that look like? Took, depending on how severe the injury is just going to swap here. Got my loop now. West Coast play mostly Sunday games. It's not bad. I think it's from next week, right? Yeah. From next week, I can start looping them because Gold Coast play at a different time to Port. I can't loop because they're the same time. Oh my god. Okay, so look, I did this on Saturday. I hate Andrew Dillon. Like, genuinely, he's the least I've liked a CEO of any sport. Where they call him CEO, commissioner, whatever. It's the same job, right? It's just a difference in wording. Dillon has only made bad decisions. He's adding in a 19th team without any plans right now for a 20th team, so the league's going to be completely out. He wants to add in more bye rounds, which is going to, again, throw the whole league completely out of competitive whack, because people are going to have extra breaks at good times versus I guarantee it will be all the Victorian teams get the good breaks and the interstate ones cop the early season breaks. Like, this is terrible. He's the worst CEO we've had. And Why is there no Thursday night game? You're telling me Bulldogs Carlton can't go on a Thursday night, or like Hawks Freo. Like Freo don't even get a Thursday night game all year. Move them to Friday night. Move Collingwood Geelong to Thursday night. Collingwood is not good this year. It's so stupid, honestly. Like, man, he's the worst one we've had by far. Like, so bad. Him and Laura Kane need to just get out of the job. They're not fit for it. It's worse than like Biden being president. It is terrible. But yeah, gonna go with Neil for now. If Fisher is hurt and doesn't line up, probably gonna have to trade him out. It's a shame that there's no like forward DPP here. But yeah, probably go Fisher to either Combin or Moore. I just like watching Dylan Moore. That's probably why I'd go for him. But what's his name? He might be a bit better, Combin. Looks like everyone's trading Took. I didn't see what the injury was. I wasn't watching at that point, but it was a wrist injury. Fisher, yeah, makes sense. McKirch is an interesting one, actually. But I can't get him in, can I? Unless I go like, nah, because I've only got one trade. If I had two trades, I'd probably do McKircher in for Miller and then Fisher to a proper forward. But yeah, that's about it for this week. See you all next week. Tasty out.